Good morning. Welcome back to Preparing for Retirement. My name is Martha, and my channel, Preparing for Retirement, is all about what I'm going through at this point to prepare for my retirement. And for my retirement, the plan that my husband and I have is to actually sell our house and all of our belongings and to move overseas. We will be based out of my uh, daughter's place in Australia. She is now an Australian citizen, and we will be traveling the world. At least during our go-go and our slow-go years, we will be traveling the world. Um, it remains to see what we'll be doing for the no-go, if we'll settle in Australia, dependent upon the right visa, or if we're going to actually maybe take advantage of one of the other countries and their long-term care facilities or retirement facilities. There are some wonderful ones out there. But anyway, the point of this video today, I wanted to talk about Social Security benefits and whether or not you can receive them overseas. What countries may you have an issue receiving your benefits? If you're a citizen, if you're not a citizen, all that good stuff. So if you are like me and you have the plan that I have to retire and you've talked about it, one of the first questions people ask you is, well, how are you going to get your Social Security overseas? You can't get Social Security overseas. You can only get it if you're in the US. And so, of course, I had to, research this prior to even coming up with this plan, to find, yeah, they're wrong. But there are some nuances to this. And so I thought that, there might be someone out there that wants to have the resources and the tools to be able to look into their own personal situation, make sure that they fit the bill, meet the requirements, and to see what they have to do, if anything, to make sure that their payments are not interrupted. Now, I will start by saying that in our case, we are going to maintain a bank account in the United States to receive our Social Security benefits. So, in essence, the money's gonna stay in the United States until we move it. So, there's that. It's different than me saying, okay, no, I'm going to be a resident of, say, Italy, and I'm going to have my bank account in Italy, and I want my Social Security check sent to my bank in Italy. So there is a difference there. And so we're just going to look at that and see if maybe, either of those scenarios have a benefit in terms of whether or not you're going to receive your Social Security payments. So, the resource that I'm going to go to today to kind of walk through this process is the Social Security Administration themselves. So here is the SSA.gov benefits page. Just so we can talk about what benefits you could get through the Social Security Administration. Okay, so before we go any further, I am going to be putting the links to these various pages on the SSA website in the description box below. So, feel free to copy the links from above to write them down, but I will also have them in the description box below this video. So first of all, in the SSA.gov main site, under benefits, you can see that they talk about what are the various benefits that Social Security offers. So, what we're going to be talking about today is going to be the retirement benefit. That's your Social Security check. They also do administer the SSDI, the Social Security Disability Program, and the survivor benefits here, family benefits, supplemental security income benefits, and then lastly, Medicare, which is, as it says, health insurance for people who are 65 or over, or anyone that gets the Social Security disability benefit also automatically will qualify for Medicare. With rare exceptions, this Medicare benefit is only a benefit if you are receiving care in the United States or United States territory, to my understanding. I understand in my research that there have been some occasions where people have received health care overseas, and have been reimbursed by Medicare, but from my understanding, that is few and far between, and very specific instances. So I certainly wouldn't count on it, which is why we plan on getting international health care on top of when we have to pay for our Medicare Part B. So anyway, so that's just to talk about the different benefit types that all tie into Social Security benefits. Today, I am going to be talking about the retirement checks, the Social Security checks that you can start getting when you are 62, and then depending on your year of birth, tells you when you're at full retirement age. For myself, born in 1966, my full retirement age is 67, and you can delay up until 70. This is the program I'm talking about, the monthly checks that senior citizens here in the US will receive if they have worked enough quarters or if they're a spouse of a recipient. So now that we've defined what benefits Social Security provides, we're going to go into the retirement part. So there is a tab, or there is a link, excuse me, for that speaks specifically to Social Security payments outside the United States. I could not find the precise breadcrumbs to get you here, the precise path, even though they show it here by clicking wherever you need to click. So I'm just going to drop this link down below, but just know that this is the portion that specifically deals with how they handle people that are living outside the United States for the different programs. So if you go here, there are a lot of really great tools, and questions and answers, and, can I receive Social Security benefits if I'm not a US citizen and I live outside the United States? So let's talk about that for just 1 minute. If you are not a US citizen, but you have lived here legally and worked here and paid into the system under your own work number, then you can be eligible to receive Social Security benefits when you retire. So the question is, though, if let's just say that you came here legally from India, you applied for permission to work, and you received a work number and your own related, I think it's a Social Security number for a non-citizen still, but you received a legal number that you were to report your wages under, and then you paid your taxes and you did everything the right way. When you retire, if you have met the Social Security eligibility requirements that every US citizen has to meet, you can also receive a Social Security check. You've paid into the system, you've done it the right way, you're retiring, you're eligible for that. You can participate in the program. Now, the problem is when you go home again. So if you are in this situation where you are not a US citizen and you're planning on doing slow travel, please, please, please go look this up, because there are some qualifiers for non-citizens if you're going to be out of the US after 6 consecutive calendar months. So, there are some exceptions. There are some things you can do. But if you are a non-citizen, I'm not going to really speak to this today or go in depth, but I would really encourage you to research this to see if you can apply for an exception, if you're eligible for an exception. If not, you will have to plan on working a trip back to the US and staying in the US for a full calendar month to make sure that you don't get cut off from your benefits. So do look at this. It's really important if you are planning your retirement and you need those Social Security benefits. It's really important that you are aware. So if you are a non-citizen, again, go to the site with the link below and make sure that you run through your scenario, call the Social Security Administration. If you have any questions on it, they have different publications here, about how that works. The Payments Abroad screening tool is a great tool to use. And it's right here. It's very, very simple. And it's just basically, to see if you can receive your retirement, disability, or survivor payments if you're going to travel outside the US. So I'm going to run through this in my situation. So the first question is, have you been or do you plan to go outside the United States, which for this program includes the 50 states, District of Columbia, and then our territories, Guam, Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, American Samoa, or the Northern Mariana Islands? Yes, I do. Next is, are you a US citizen? And I am. So click through. Am I currently receiving Title II Social Security disability or retirement payments on your own earnings record? Now, I'm going to answer this as if I was already receiving them to see if I would be eligible to continue receiving them. So I would be receiving retirement payments on my own earnings record. Yes. Now you select the country or location outside the United States where you are staying or planning to go. I'm going to start out just with Australia, but I could, tick any number of them. Okay. Click continue. As a United States citizen, you may receive your Social Security payments outside the United States in this country as long as you are eligible for them. Okay. That's the important part. Now, there are certain places that even as a United States citizen, you cannot receive your payments. Now, that might be because our countries do not have a diplomatic agreement, meaning that they're, I don't know if you call them enemies. I don't know what you call them, but we don't have a diplomatic agreement with them. So the US will not send money there. It's illegal. And then there are other countries where the US government believes that there is a high probability that you will not receive your money. Okay, so maybe there's extreme corruption. Maybe the country is in a prolonged state of war, and so they're not going to send money there. Whatever the decision is, they're not going to be sending your money there. Now, that's if they're sending it to a bank in that country. I want to qualify that. So if you have your Social Security checks just deposited into an American bank account, a United States bank account, like we're talking about, this doesn't affect us. I probably wouldn't travel to these countries that I just mentioned anyway as a US citizen because of the reasons that I said. Either they're at war, I don't really want to travel into a war zone, or we don't have a diplomatic agreement, in which case it may be illegal for me to travel there as a US citizen, or it's definitely not wise for me to travel there because my government would not be able to get me back, most probably, if something were to happen. But, we circumvent this whole thing, or our plan is to circumvent this whole thing by having the checks go to our bank account. So we don't have to worry about countries that way. But what I want to highlight is that there is a booklet here, your payments while you are outside the United States, that will come up here. And this is a fantastic resource. And this refers to all the different payments that we mentioned before. And I've just taken a moment to highlight a few areas that I think are very good. So it does the, normal introduction, what they're talking about, how they calculate the Social Security benefits in US dollars. And then it talks about immediately, payment is restricted in these countries. So, and that's due to sanctions and, we don't have a diplomatic relationship. So Cuba, North Korea. So, we can't send your money to those countries. And if you are not a US citizen, you can't receive payments for the months that you lived there. That's important. That is important. Because if you are a non-citizen and you live outside the US, and you stay too long, you have to come back and reestablish yourself. And then you should be able to receive payments that were missed once you're reestablished in the US and you've proven that you're back there as a non-citizen. So they're saying if you are not a citizen and you go live there, you can come back to the US, but we're not going to pay you for those months. So, this is a pretty important document. But let's go back to if we're a citizen. That's what I'm talking about today. If I'm a citizen and I want to get my Social Security payment abroad. So here are your restrictions. We've already talked about Cuba and North Korea. Again, we don't have a diplomatic agreement with them at all. So generally, we cannot send Social Security payments to persons in Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, I'm going to butcher this one, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Okay. So my understanding from my reading is that they don't send money to those countries because there's a high probability that you would not receive your money. So there's a bit of corruption, it sounds like. But it says, however, we can make exceptions for certain eligible persons in these countries. So here's the information here. If you want to see if you qualify for an exception, you have to agree to the restricted payment conditions. So they're going to be super careful because again, they don't think you're going to receive your money if they send it. So if you are in those countries and you don't qualify for an exception, they're just going to withhold the payments until you leave the country. And then once you're in a country that doesn't have the restrictions, then they can go ahead and send your payments that have been held. Okay. So as you move on, they're going to talk about here if you are outside of the United States, what it means to come back in the United States, where you can come back to. You can come back to one of the 50 states. You can come back to the District of Columbia, one of the territories, and you have to be there for at least 30 days in a row if you want to be able to qualify to get your payments again. And if you're not a US citizen, you may also have to prove that you were lawfully present during that 30-day period. So, you're going to have some sort of proof that you were in the country that entire 30 days. Again, if you're not a US citizen or you do not meet one of the conditions, we'll stop your payments after you've been outside the United States for 6 calendar months. And then we can't restart your payments again until you come back and stay in the US for a full calendar month. I know I've said this several times, but it's just really important to realize that, if you're not a US citizen and you're getting Social Security benefits, you have these requirements on you unless you have been approved for an exception. Okay, so these are all United States. These are not applicable to a US citizen. This is all non-US citizen. Okay, so, I believe this is the last highlight that I have here. You must also remain eligible for benefits and live in a country where we can send payments. Okay, so in any case, this is a great booklet. There's so much information here. So we'll continue your Social Security payments if you're a citizen in one of the countries listed below. There's so much information here. I really recommend if you are a non-citizen, especially, to download this booklet. But as I've shown before, using the Payments Abroad screening tool, as a US citizen, you may receive your Social Security payments outside the United States in this country for as long as you are eligible for them. And again, I chose Australia. So let's choose another one. Another place that we are planning on going to. Yes, I plan on going outside. Yes, I'm a citizen. Yes, I'm on my own earning record. And let's say I'm going to go to, I don't know, I'm going to go to Cambodia. Or let's choose Vietnam. Let's choose a communist country, Vietnam, because that may be someone's misconception that because It's communist. I can't get them. As a US citizen, you may receive your Social Security payments outside the states in this country as long as you're eligible for them. So you can see that it is very easy for United States citizens to be able to travel the world after retirement and still receive their Social Security payments. We have expats living in virtually every country of the world that we have favorable status anyway. And they're receiving their Social Security payments just fine. Now, disability, I believe there are qualifiers on disability payments. I've recently walked or assisted a family member through an ordeal of almost 4 years fighting to get disability. She was finally approved, and I believe one of the qualifiers they said is that she could not go outside the country or she'd lose it. Excuse me, it wasn't disability, it was supplemental security income. She got SSI. They agreed she was disabled, but she didn't work long enough to qualify for disability. So they gave her SSI and Medicare. Or Medicaid, excuse me. So she can't leave the country or she'll lose her benefits. And we worked so hard to get those that, she's not looking to leave the country. But in any case, for the Social Security retirement payments, if you have any questions or if you have people in your family that you've tried to explain your plans and they just have this idea in their head that no, you have to live in the US to get your benefits, you can take them to this. This is the official resource. This is the resource, Social Security. And you can show them this payments calculator, the screening tool. You can show them all the information at the site. You can get your money. You've worked hard, you've put money your whole life into the system, and it is available to you all over the world virtually. There's a few countries you're not going to get it. Other than that, or there are like 7 or 8 countries that you can't receive. And all but 2 of those, you may be able to file an exception. But like I said, we're going to get around that whole question because we're going to be traveling all over the place. And so we don't want to have to keep up with, having bank accounts in different countries. That's not going to work for us during our go-go and our slow-go years. We won't want to open bank accounts in different countries. So we're just going to use our credit cards and our ATM cards to get cash. And we will have our Social Security checks deposited into a US bank account. So, there's no question that money will be available to us. Now, when we do reach our no-go years, if we decide to say, I don't know, stay in a long-term care home in Thailand, they're beautiful. They're like resorts. They cost less than your Social Security check, most of them. And you get excellent care, excellent medical care. If we choose to do that, then we may very well, with the proper visa, be able to open an account in Thailand. And then we may want to deposit our money directly. We may change our Social Security direct deposit to over there. But my gut feeling is that we're still going to have it go to the American bank account and then we'll transfer the money from bank to bank. That's my gut feeling. I know that there are pluses and minuses to both. But, for the meantime, we plan on just circumventing this whole process and just getting the money to our US bank account. As a US citizen, I am eligible to receive my Social Security check outside of the country. I have no limitation. I don't have to be back in the country every year. I don't have to come back every 6 months, none of that. If you are a non-citizen who is legally a participant in the Social Security system, and so you get your Social Security checks, you definitely want to get this information. But if you stay out too long from everything that I've read, they will make it up to you once you come back into the country and you've been here for 30 days. So anyway, I hope this information is helpful to someone here. I know I've heard it, and there's a tendency to kind of want to roll your eyes when people say that. Like, of course, I looked at it. My whole future's, part of this plan. Of course, I've looked at it. But there really is a lot of misinformation around there, this area. So, it is very helpful to be able to show people who care about you and just don't want you to lose what you've worked for. You can take them here and you can show them, look, this is the Social Security site. This is the information that they give us. This is the official information on their program. So in any case, all these links are going to be below in the description box. And feel free to, if there's anything else that you happen to know about this, these benefits, maybe it's another part of the Social Security benefits program and you want to share it in the comments below. I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing about what your experience has been, with those programs. Or if you have a bank account in another country and you've had issues here and there, please share those in the comments below, along with which country it is, so that we can try to help each other and support each other, as we walk through our plans. So if this content has been helpful for you, I would ask you to please like and subscribe, and I will continue to walk through my plans for retirement with everyone on this channel and hopefully get some tips and some tricks and get some feedback along the way. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless.